my birds and everything. I had to straighten up everything, get everything in order in here because I'm pretty sure you don't want to watch me do that. First things first, my name's Kenneth Bird. My company is Crystal Edge Technology Screen. Sorry if I get in the morning. My voice is a little weird. I did a demonstration to display that basically after watching Partay's demonstration on painting the screen. As I said before, I've been in the business for a very long time. I've seen all different kinds of demonstrations on painting screens. And that particular application would just take way too long in order to be able to apply to a surface. It just would take too long. The amount of screens I have in my house, it would take forever for me to ever get any one, two or three of them done in the house. It would take virtually impossible for that screen to be dried, and then all the complicated instructions, and just all around, just I'm not trying to say be rude here, but a complete nightmare for the customers. Customers are going to have a hard time trying to get around those instructions. And keep in mind, you can't paint it against the wall because that's to lay flat. And it's a whole lot of nonsense. Like you said, a fixed frame screen, you have to take it out of the frame and all that nonsense. No one's going to go through all that. You know how hard it is. Some screens are actually a pain in the neck to take apart and then put it back in. Keep in mind that if your screen's already painted, if you have a fixed frame screen that's already painted, it's going to be stiff. It's going to be stiffer than what it was because you added paint to it. This is going to make the material very rigid when you go to pull it off the frame, and it's going to make it even harder for it to expand over the frame due to the fact that you already painted the surface. You do not want to take it apart, paint it, and then put it back together. That's going to be a headache. You can paint the entire thing while it's already in the frame with no problem whatsoever. This right here is a 106-inch Elite screen. Like I said, I didn't have to take it out, didn't have to take it apart, patted the bar on the back of it, rolled over top of it, was done. This screen over here, I painted twice. Went back over the first time, went back over the second time, because even in this video tutorial, it was so long that I had to speed the video up just a little bit more so that way I could basically make it a challenge. Because other than that, I'd have had at least a good maybe, I say 5 or 10 minutes already passed on the screen. I would have been done already. So this is the time it took for him to paint that small sample sheet. That was around probably, I say 3 feet by 4 feet or 2 feet by 4 feet. It took him 15 minutes and 24 seconds to paint that screen. It took me 15 minutes and 24 seconds. Mind, I had to move the time up to paint a 91-inch and 106-inch. Paint the screen twice here, which I didn't need to, but I painted it twice for fun. Came back in, did a little talking for a little bit, sat down, painted this screen over here, paint and dry the screen without a fan, and then come in and display at the same time, and done. And just to show you the final results, well, I got my windows open. So I got my windows open, plenty of light pushing through. We got the overhead lights on, and we can produce an image in here with no problem whatsoever. So that's what I mean by it just takes too long. When I saw the video demonstration, like, man, it's going to take forever for someone to paint that in. And then with the complicated instructions, that is going to be a complete headache. The whole pouring the line of paint down the center of the screen. What if you have a screen that's actually on the wall? Like I have a wall screen right here that's on my wall. How would I apply that? By using that product, because I have to pour this line right down the center from starting from the left to the right. And then you have to go down and look at a grid or a map or something they have, like some kind of display, to be able to see where you're going to start to begin with the screen. There's no way in the world if you're using this product, you can't apply that to a wall because the screen has to lay flat. The same thing you said about the fixed frame screen. Do you have any idea the headache I would have had if I had to take this thing apart? As I said at the end of the day, this surface is already painted. So say if your surface is already painted, you want to apply his application onto it, you're going to paint 4 applications onto a surface that's already painted already from the door. That's going to make the screen even stiffer to be able to wrap that back around the frame. And then if it's already painted to begin with, mind, it's not going to have the expansion it used to have when you painted it, because that PVC that you painted over it now has become stiffer because that's an application of paint. So for him to tell you that the screen's already painted, just remove it from the frame, that is going to be a personal nightmare for you, because that's not going to have the same stretchness as it did after you paint it. It's going to be stiffer. Every time you paint one of these screens, they get stiffer and stiffer to the point they basically crack, because I've actually cracked a few of them. But anyway, that's what I'm telling you from the door. But this is my final results. I'm done. I got everything back in the room all set up. I got to do some dusting in here, like really bad. I've got my windows open right here, just for, I don't need it. Like I said, I was able to paint both screens in here with the windows closed and the heat on. And mind you, I have respiratory issues at the end of the day, and I'm good to go. I have no problems at all whatsoever. So this stuff is low odor, eco-friendly, wash this off with hot water and soap, and I'm pretty much done. That's it. I painted the screens in no time at all. I am going to do a couple of demonstrations on this one over here. If I can figure out where exactly I put the remote control. Here it is on the Sony. And nobody's going to go through all that. Nobody in the right mind is going to go through all that. Told you, I can knock out about, by the time it takes for a screen 7 days to dry, you know the screens I can knock out in 7 days? It's crazy. I like this gamer, man. This gamer, I might be putting this on my 35. I think I might be painting my 35. With that gamer, is sick. It is really nice. But we need one Phantom in here at least. I like that gamer. But I got a gamer right there, over there. Let me fix my tape here. Marvel is playing over here. Show you my angle gain. And this is with lights on and light coming through the window. Take these off. And you can still have my lights on. My windows open. But like I said, at the end of the day, you know, like I said, it is what it is, you know. If I'm going to sit there and tell somebody, I'm not going to talk trash about it. If I'm going to sit there and tell you, I'm going to back it up 100%. Everybody should know that's one thing about me. I can back it up. If I say that my product can be painted in no time at all, talking about regular paint, yeah, it doesn't take, regular paint even dries faster than that. If you're saying your product's not a paint and it takes 5 to 7 days, then that is a complete fail. That is pretty bad at the end of the day. No one's going to wait that long for that surface to dry. And on top of that, the painting instructions are absolutely insane. That is absolutely insane. By the time you got done stirring your paint, because the instructions on stirring your paint, by the time you got done stirring your paint, I was already finished that screen already. Just about done. I literally had to go in and basically move the video up so that way I could basically make it a fair challenge. But all that pouring a straight line nonsense, no one's gonna go through all that craziness. 5 to 7 days for a screen to dry, that's just crazy.
From side to side, and then, you know, the other way, side to side. And I'll do that a few times, and then make sure that you get around your edges, so that you don't have stuff that's just stuck to the edges. Now, this over time, probably by the time you would
see the size of his screen he painted? It took him,
but over time, you will.
Not to be rude, it took him 15 minutes and 24 seconds to paint a screen that small. It took me around, I got done at about 1510. 1510, and I was able to paint the 106 inch, and I painted the 91 inch 4.3 twice. Peeled the tape off of it, took the lights in, cleaned up my environment, and he was still talking about painting the screen. 15 minutes to paint that, 15 minutes and 24 seconds to paint that little screen right there.
We'll have some separation there that could occur, and that's going to be the.
So just imagine how much time it would take if you were to paint these two screens behind me right now.
Because we use a combination of distilled water with.
That little surface took all that time.
The polymers in it are heavier. It's going to fall to the bottom.
You have any idea how long it would have taken me to paint these two screens if I had used that instruction? If I had painted my screens this way? That means for each time I painted one of these screens, I would have to wait 2 to 3 minutes for the screen to settle and then come back in. And then once the screen dries, I have to put another application and another application and another application. It would take too long.
So your water will
I'll never be done.
Top and separate. That water is really only there as a delivery vehicle for the product because it's going to evaporate. what Kelly's
That doesn't even make any sense. What the heck is a delivery vehicle? Why would you put water and paint at delivery? Paint doesn't even evaporate. That's crazy. At the end of the day, if that was the case, anybody who bought paint, the minute you get home, there'd be water in it because it would automatically evaporate. That's craziness. I've never heard of that before in my life. Never.
to the bottom over time. So your water will kind of rise to the top and separate. That water is really only there as a delivery vehicle for the product because it's going to evaporate. What Kelly's going to do is I'm going to instruct
You
her
don't even. Why
on
would
how
it?
to
Why
get
would it?
started.
Why would it evaporate? Why would paint evaporate at the end of the day? If you leave paint open, yeah, it's basically going to basically dry up. But evaporate? Are you kidding me? I've never heard of anything like that in my life. Never, ever heard of anything like that in my life.
Really only there as a delivery vehicle for the product because it's going to evaporate. What Kelly's going to do is I'm going to instruct.
That's the most insane thing I've ever heard. I got to take this part right here. I got a couple of sites that I go to for painting and stuff like that. I guess I used to paint homes and stuff like that. I've never heard of
To the
that.
top and separate. That water is really only there as a delivery vehicle for the product because it's going to evaporate. What Kelly's going to do is I'm
Never
going to
heard of that.
instruct her.
Go to Home Depot and say, hey, look, let me ask you a question. If you put water in paint, is it basically reduce it from evaporating? No, look at you like you lost your mind. Like, what the frick are you talking about? That's the craziest thing I've heard in my life.
On how to get started. And the way that we're going to get started is think of this as your full screen. I usually break mine into thirds. So you would have 3 areas. There's actually 2 kind of divots in this thing. You can see one over here and one here. But we'll break it into thirds. What I usually do is run for this size panel. We're just going to run like a little 2-inch. If I'm doing a full screen, I'm probably going to run about a 3 to 4 inch, maybe 3 inch. Start with 3. You can always pour a little more if you want to do it that way. You can use a rolling pan. The thing is I wouldn't use more in a rolling pan than what you plan to do in one coating. And I'll explain that as we go. Okay?
No, you did not explain that as we go. I've never heard anything else about the rolling pan as we went along in the video. Never said anything else at all. If you can use a rolling pan, why would you have to paint a line down the middle of your screen? I just use a rolling pan to knock on both my screen. Actually, one screen I used a rolling pan was the wall. The other screen I just dumped the paint on top of. So if you need a rolling pan, you would not need to put the line in the middle of the screen at all, period. That's crazy.
Okay, so the easiest thing to do is Kelly right now, I've instructed her, to do it that way, run like a little 2-inch. If I'm doing a full screen, I'm probably going to run about a 3 to 4 inch, maybe 3 inch, start with 3. You can always pour a little more if you want to do it that way. You can use a rolling pan. The thing is I wouldn't use more in a rolling pan than what you plan to do in one.
See that pause in there? He made a mistake. He wasn't supposed to say rolling pan. Because if you could use a rolling pan, you would not have to put a line down the middle of the screen. That'd be very, why we can put a line in the middle of your rolling pan and do it? That's dumb. It doesn't make any sense.
Coating, and I'll explain that as we go, okay? So the easiest thing to do is Kelly right now, I've instructed her, she's going to run about a 2-inch wide.
Confused. 2-inch. That says 3-inch right there. You're confusing your own instructions. You're saying 2-inch, and this clearly says 3-inch right there.
You can use a rolling pan. The thing is I wouldn't use more in a rolling pan than what you plan to do in one coating. And I'll explain that as we go, okay? So the easiest thing to do is Kelly right now, I've instructed her, she's going to run about a 2-inch wide strip from the center of the first one to the center of the third one. There you go. Just keep going. There you go.
No, I would never be to paint that to my wall.
Nice.
Impossible.
Nice. Okay.
How would it even apply to my wall?
You can actually take your brush and brush that up beside if that happens, where you have a little roll in the container. There you go. Nice. Now you just want to go ahead and get to rolling. And what you want to do, the goal here is to cover the surface. You're not trying to get a pretty roll, like you're rolling a wall in your house or something. You just want to, first of all, what you want to do is try to get your roller saturated with the material. Rolling it back and forth. You want to saturate your roller with the material.
Like this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Y'all, I have not done this. So,
But now you want to start rolling it, like rolling
Now you
it
see how
out.
messy that
As
looks?
you've got little pieces.
That is going to basically show all kinds of inconfidence in a painter at the door. You start seeing a display come off like that. That's not going to be good at all, period. For the person who's painting the screen for the first time, this is the first time. For some people, this is the first time they've ever painted anything. And to see something like that is basically going to cause doubt in their work. And you don't want that. You want to build their confidence. You want to make it so they can paint the screen on, be done with it, see outstanding results right from the door. That's what you want. They don't want to go through this because if you make it nervous, okay, put it this way, easier way of basically explaining it to you. All right. Trying to put this in a way where it doesn't come out a little crazy. All right. All right. When I used to spar, right? You basically get points for striking your opponent, right? For sparring. All right. So basically, it's basically a spar that involves no contact to the head. You can't strike a person in the head. It has to be from the head on down. All right. I was instructed to strike the person in the head, all right, because it throws them off. So basically, anytime I move or put a fake in, they would actually be jarred because they'd be already shook because I've already struck them in the head. Now, they went into the tournament thinking that this is going to be a match where I'm not going to get hit in the head, but I struck you dead in the head on purpose. Now, I know that I'm going to have a point against you, but I'll get that back in the next round because you're already shook already. I've already damaged your confidence. So any move I make towards your head, you're automatically going to be shook. That's how I wore. It's a dirty way of wearing in a tournament, but that's I don't know. I was trained that way anyways. But anyway, so the confidence level is going to be gone. It's not going to be there. You know what I mean? And that's what you're doing right here. The person's painting something and they want to see outstanding results. They don't want to see something coming off jacked up and go, oh shoot, man, this is not looking good. You don't want to sow that kind of confidence in there, like that kind of what's the word for it? That kind of doubt. You know what I mean? They want to see excellent results from the door. Everybody wants to see it. Whether you're building shelves or you're painting something or you're putting something together, you want to see results from the door. Nothing starts off crappy and it gets better as it goes along because you think, oh man, along the line, I'm really going to mess this thing up. And that is not good at all. I'm going to drop my projector down to the floor so I can fill my screen up because this small little screen here is driving me crazy. But just watch this.
There you go.
You got,
trying to get
it's not going to work.
A good, even coverage. It's not going to look even as far as color, but you want the whole surface to be wet. It's as easy as that. Just basically, but try not to roll it off. I usually roll side to side.
I got you. I'm gonna instruct me.
It's a mess. Why would you have to saturate the surface?
You're doing absolutely.
I'm gonna have my 8-year-old niece come down here and paint a screen in, and she can paint a screen in and get better results right from the door. The minute that roller hits, boom, you're supposed to have outstanding results. It's supposed to be smooth, clean, and easy. Here, walking this dog back and forth. Smooth, clean, and easy. You don't want to see that, especially if you paid money for your screen at the end of the day. That's a $500, $80 edge list I got downstairs. If I saw results for that from the door, I'd be kind of ticked off.
It'll be perfect. Once again, you're not trying to get a pretty roll at all.
You need to get a pretty roll right to the door. That's crazy. Never heard anything like that before.
Now you can start applying just a little bit of pressure, going either side to side or up and down. Just apply a little bit more pressure. Be easy when you want to roll with your roller. There you go. Yeah, not just slide it. All right. Now you see how that's starting to coat across the screen now?
I do.
All right. And that's really all you're wanting to do is just make sure you get a good even coat. All right, now go back to this side and just lightly hold your roller. Just let the weight of the roller roll it, and you just roll up. Go take your roller and put it about halfway on the line you just made. And just do that again. The weight of the roller, do that over and over across your surface. Now, the reason we're doing this is because I want to show you, it's very easy, it's just a technique, right? But also, this will help you optimize. That's it, you're done. This will help you optimize the surface. So the surface is going to have less texture, it's going to be very fine, and give you a really nice image. So that's it. It was just coat the surface, do your light roll all the way across, and then now we're going to let it set for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, just because this starts to try to level set itself.
Put my projector on the floor so I can fill the screen. I can stand at smaller screens, drive me crazy. And I got my windows open.
Fan, excuse me, we're going to put it on a fan, and we'll be back in just a few, okay? All right, so we're back. Now, one thing that I did forget to mention in the first coat was when you finish, rinse out your roller. Now, what I do is usually that's the reason I use so little material. That way, there's not really a lot to rinse out of your roller, so you don't waste a lot of material.
That is that's idiotic at the end of the day. It doesn't make a difference if you're painting a 100-inch screen or 150-inch screen. You're still going to have a saturated roller. It doesn't make a difference. I've never heard of, because I'm painting a 100-inch screen, I have less paint on my roller. No, both are going to have the same amount of paint. If you dip that roller into the pan, they're both going to come up with the same amount of paint. One's not going to come up less because of the size of the screen. That's bull. I'm sorry, that's bull.
But you start with a fresh material, but you start with a fresh roller for, now what I do is usually that's the reason I use so little material. That way there's not really a lot to rinse out of your roller, so you don't wait. That's
bull. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. So you mean to tell me if I painted the 43 over here, I got a roll over here, I paint the 91-inch screen, I paint the 106-inch, I got less paint on my roller because I used the 93. They both use the same amount of paint. If I dip it into the pan, they're both coming up the same kind of paint. That's bull. Sorry, it's bull.
Waste a lot of material, but you start with a fresh roller for this coat. So this time we're going to do the exact same thing we did last time. And while Kelly's rolling it, I'll talk a little about the product itself and what it's designed and engineered to do for you. You're hard to hold that spoon. So just get used to it.
Now, mind you, you're not painting that to a wall. You're not going to paint it to a wall. That's not going to work. And how would that work with a paint sprayer?
You're just going to repeat the same thing that happened last time. You just try to move this around, get your roller good and wet, just kind of going back and forth across. As if you just go across your panel there, you'll saturate the roller. And then you're just going to try to make sure that you move the material around to coat the full screen. So while Kelly's rolling here and getting that done, see, I'm just going to cut you loose on your own.
Good luck with that.
All right, folks, so while Kelly's doing her thing, I'm going to do a little narration here. So what you want to avoid is overworking this. That's the reason I'm being so thorough in the explanation. Because the tendency for people is to try to roll this as a paint, where you're trying to get color coverage that looks the same from one roll to the next roll. You don't need to worry about that with this. This is going to happen naturally as you do your layers, okay? What you're trying to do is, one, get coverage on the surface. Two, when I say coverage, just get the surface wet with the material.
Mm-hmm.
Go back. Step two, you're going to add a little bit of pressure like she's doing now, just rolling one direction. It really shouldn't even be going back and forth. Just one direction is easy enough. Yeah, just add slight pressure, and what you'll see is that'll start to colorize the surface. And then you're going to go back and do the same thing, but with no pressure, just letting the roller do its thing, which is going to give you a very refined, low texture surface. It's that simple. This material has been designed to make it easy for you, and so that whoever creates a screen, as long as you follow the instructions, it's going to come out the same regardless if Tom in Oklahoma does it or, you know, Josie in the UK does it. It doesn't matter, right? It should come out the same, and that's the reason that we designed it to do this. The material itself it's not fully self-leveling, at least not at that, thickness. It's not going to be fully self-leveling, but You do want to let it set for 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but you're going to want to let it set for 2 or 3 minutes so it can self-level. And then you can throw the fan on it, let it dry, do its thing, and as soon as it's dry, now, dry is dry, okay? It shouldn't be tacky, so you want to make sure that it's not tacky. As a matter of fact, when you feel the surface, especially if you've had it on a fan, it's probably going to be a cool surface, but you just feel, and as long as it feels nice and smooth, not tacky at all, you're ready to go for the next coat. So, just want to make sure folks understand, do not overwork the product. It doesn't need to be. Once again, not the paint. Not meant to coat like a paint
It's
or
paint.
behave like a paint.
It's definitely a paint.
All right, guys, Danny back. So I want to take a moment while Kelly's doing her thing to give you an idea of the surface. So now you
Over here.
can see
I'm gonna charge back in.
You can see, okay, there's a line here, and there's a line here, and there's a line here. But we're not through yet, right? So don't worry about that. You can see the little specks in there where you can still see through.
Took 15 minutes,
Don't worry about it.
24
What you'll
seconds
notice
to
is
paint that
that
one
it's
little
starting to
thing,
get
and I painted this
uniform
in
color.
15 minutes and 10.
Now, this here, this is a crease in the, you can see in the panel that we're doing, there's some inconsistencies in the panel. But once again, worst case scenario, we're using just an old cheap panel here that's got creases and little divots in it, things like that. But looking at the surface, this is going to start to shape up in our third row, all right? So we'll get Kelly in here in just a second and get started back. All right, so you want to stir it up again. We cleaned our roller. Very little material came out of it this time, so you did a good job. I'm not using too much last time. All right.
Ready?
Yep. There you go. Leave what's left in there. And roll that out. Remember to move your material first.
8K
Start all the material
Nature
that's in the center.
desire.
You want to make sure you start moving it out. So you have a little, yeah, so if you have a little piece of your roller or anything like that that comes off, you see a speck of something, just take it off with your finger and go back over it. It'll cover really easy. All right, so now you want to do your light roll because you were putting pressure over some of that. So you just want to make sure that you always do this last, very light, no pressure on the roller, just let the weight
See,
of the
I can
roller.
look out my window, daydream, and watch my screen at the same time. I did both
Here's
screens.
coat 3. It may end up being our last coat. I know I said 4.
15 minutes. I had to literally speed the video up because he was talking so much in the video in order to make it a challenge. I'd have beat him in 10 minutes extra on the video. Literally painted the 4.3 right over here twice. Painted that twice. That is a 91 inch 4.3. Just measured it. That's a 106 inch. Painted that without taking it out of the frame. Painted this one directly to the wall. It'd have been virtually possible to paint that to the wall because you had to put that line of paint that ran all down the side of your wall. It wouldn't have. And as for the paint roller theory, as you notice, he didn't talk anything else besides when he first made the statement about the paint roller pan. He didn't finish up on that. He didn't even recap on that at all, period, because he knew he made a mistake. If you could put that in a paint pan, it'd be no point in you basically putting a line across the screen. It's not, the purpose is not there. You don't need to do it. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, I told you, when I saw the video, when you sitting there at a video to my bull crap, I'm not playing with you. When I tell you it's bull crap. Best way for me to show you this is to back it up. And that's one thing about Mr. Bird. If I'm going to tell you something, I'm going to come in and back it up. And that's what I did. I came in here and knocked out 2 screens in no time at all. Pulled the tape off, cleaned up the room, and displayed. Paint, dry, and displayed. In 15 minutes. 15, well, I say 15. I'll give him 15:24, but I was at 15:10. And I literally had to stop what I was doing, come over and speed the video up. Because he was talking to the intro, I'd have been done already. No. too long. There's nowhere in the world anyone's going to take that long to do it. That whole thing was talking about the fixed frame screen, taking it apart. Like, first of all, if your screen's already painted, you know how hard it is to take apart a screen that's already painted? The expansion's not there anymore because you painted over it. It's a little stiffer, it's a little more rigid now. It's going to be harder to get it back over the frame once it's already been painted. Do not remove it off the frame once you paint it, but this is what he's advising you to do. If you take that thing off and it's already been painted, it's going to be even harder to put it back on because it's not going to have any give to it because all that was gone when you painted the screen. So you don't want to do that at all to begin with. Some screens, when you put them together, like I said, depending on the manufacturer who makes them, they're a nightmare to put together to begin with. Do you imagine taking that thing apart and putting it back together again? No one wants to go through that nonsense of doing it all over again. You can paint the entire screen while it's sitting in the frame. All you got to do is pad the bar, paint over it, and you're done. Your first application you're going to put on is going to go quite nicely. I painted so many of these screens, it's not even funny. So that's what at the end of the day is what he's talking about. That whole processing and multiple coats. Do you have any idea how long it would have taken me to paint these screens right here? I wouldn't be doing this video right now. I'd be still waiting for my screen to dry to put the next application on. And mind you, he did this on a screen size of that small. I say I give it take this probably about 3 by 4. About 3 by 4. That's it. So 3 by 4 versus 5 by 7. And then we have the other screen around the height of this one is. But at the end of the day, it took him 1524 to paint that surface. It took me 1524 to paint these two surfaces, be done, and display and have results. His video literally took so long, he has to upload another video, sorry about that, displaying the results. We did it all in one hit, and we didn't use a fan. We didn't have to dry the screen at all. The screen dried on its own. I got my windows open, got my lights on, and the screens look amazing. In this demonstration, he's got this little tiny screen tucked up under a fireplace. I can show you contrast levels in a fully lit environment, and the image is not going to wash out or fade. There you go. In the day, no one is going to do this at all, period. It's going to be a complete headache. And like I said, at the end of the day, you want good results. When you first paint a screen, you want good results. Can you imagine if you're painting a room, like you're painting your room in, and it started off that way? Oh man, you'd be very upset. You'd be calling on Depot or Lowe's like, yo, I think the paint is defective. It's not coating to the surface. I'm seeing the other part of the surface push through. And mind you, he put 2 coats on here, and you could still see the paint pushing through from the previous surface that was white that he coated on. You know why? Because he put water in the paint. It weakens the paint. It weakens the structure of the paint.
Coated it with a white gloss. That's just the only white I have in the house.
So that's the white surface he coated it with.
But it's got a lot of
So it already had a previous coating on top of it, which was the cover he put over top of that white gloss. But when he went back over it again, and he put the application back on the first one, look how that smears on. That is pretty bad.
Clearly, I'm not a painter.
That has nothing to do with it. At the end of the day, anybody can paint a wall. Literally anybody. You might not be good at basically getting all the edges. It might not be neat. But at the end of the day, it's not hard to take a roller, stick it into a brush, and whoop, the side of the screen. It's not that hard to do it. But if you're getting results like that from the door, this is going to actually cause all kinds of problems with the customer because he's going to think he's messing it up. What if he never saw the video? What if he buys the paint and he never seen the video at all, period? This is not going to be good. He's going to get a whole lot of phone calls from very angry people at the end of the day. Going to know why his paint is applying like that. And he's going to sit there and explain that whole entire speech to them. And at the end of the day, they're not going to want to hear it. They're going to want to see outstanding results. Now, this is the first one he put on. Now you're putting a second one on here. And as you can see, you can still see the white part of the first application, the very first, which was supposed to be the white paint. You can see it pushing through. So those white specks, that's the paint. The reason why it's doing that, because there's water in the paint.
Nice.
You're not painting a wall with that.
And she's just going to repeat the same thing.
So question is, how would you apply that to a wall? There's no way in the world you're going to be able to apply it to a wall. How would that even work? I try to, when he calls me up from time to time, I try to ask him these questions, but he just goes into these freaking rants of curse words. Like, I don't know what's wrong with him at the end of the day. Really, I don't know what's wrong with him. But I try to ask him questions like, why in the world would you do this? Why would you do that? Ask him, picking his brain, trying to figure what's going on. Anybody else I'll call from any company and I'll talk about their products and they'll sit down and we'll talk about it, so and so and so. But these two individuals, I guess, I don't know what it is, man. It's like if someone starts questioning their work, they get upset at the end of the day. I'm asking you a simple question. Why in the world, at the end of the day, does your product, how would it be applied to a wall? You can't apply that to a wall. That's virtually impossible. Because the surface always would have to lay flat. If it doesn't lay flat, how would you be to put the line across the screen to begin with? So that's one coat, and that's the second one he's putting on right now.
Thing that happened last time, you just try to move this around, get your roller good and wet, just kind of going back and forth across. As if you just go across your panel there, you'll saturate the roller. And then you're just going to try to make sure that you move the material around to coat the full screen. So while Kelly's rolling here and getting that done, see, I'm just going to cut you loose on your own.
Good luck with that.
All right, folks, so while Kelly's doing her thing, I'm going to do a little now.
Watch this.
There's a line here.
You see this right here? See those little white spots? That's the previous screen, the first one. That's the white coating that he put on first. He put 2 applications on this, and you can still see parts of the other white screen pushing through. You know why? Because you put paint, you put water in it. And you weakened the paint. That's what you did. If you got a product like, you get a paint that's a 1-coat application, usually $50 a gallon for 1-coat application paint. If you get Behr, one of them, that means you got to paint the wall one time. I was doing a nursery for a friend of mine, and she could understand why I would pay $50 for a gallon of paint. That's because that means when I come here and paint the room, I only got to do it one time. I don't care what color is on the wall, only got to do it one time. When you pay for that kind of paint, you don't have to put primer down or anything. You just roll over it and it becomes that surface right there. Now, if you buy a cheap paint, yeah, you're going to sit back and you're going to watch the other color bleed right through. Or you can just prime it and then basically paint over that, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you can do it all in one primer, stain blocker, the whole 9 yards and be done with it at the end of the day. But what I'm seeing here is at the end of the day, if I put water in that paint, that $50 paint, and I put water in it, I break it down, I mess it up. At the end of the day, it defeats the purpose of what it's designed to do. It's to coat the entire screen so you don't see it. Everyday cheap paint, sorry about that, everyday cheap paint that you can get from Sherwin-Williams that'll cost you $23 will cover a surface. But if you drop water in it, you're going to damage what's in there. You're going to make it basically, you're going to weaken the formula, which you're going to get these results right there. That's being caused because he put water in the paint. What he described as it being a delivery service, like, what the freak are you talking about? I'm sorry, man. I don't get that, man. That's just bogus. That's a bunch of bull.
Gloppy paint.
I'll be back. That's my cat.
Whenever people are rolling, right? So the formula is not going to be like that. You will see how it works. But I just wanted to tell you that if we have a surface that has a good bit of texture on it, and you'll be able to pick up that texture whenever we do our display. And the reason for that is because this formula acts as a skin. It's very thin. You're going to do very thin layers. You're going to do 4 thin layers, and it's all going to be okay. I promise you. You're going to see your first roll is going to be the ugliest paint job you've ever done, probably in your life. So don't worry about it. That's good. That's fine. You'll see as we go through this that this is not about being a master. This formula has been designed to make it very easy for you to do. You pretty much have to try to screw it up. Maybe just take and do some finger painting in there. I can't guarantee against that, but this should be fairly easy. All right. So first things you'll want to remember is when you open up the product, you want to stir it very well. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to make sure you stir the bottom. Almost, I do mine in a checkered pattern. I kind of go one direction from side to side and then, the other way, side to side. And I'll do that a few times and then make sure that you get around your edges so that you don't have stuff that's just stuck to the edges. Now, this over time, probably by the time you would receive it, it's going to look like it does when we mix it. But over time, you will have some separation there that could occur, and that's going to be because we use a combination of distilled water with something we designed here. The polymers in it are heavier, it's going to fall to the bottom over time. So your water will kind of rise to the top and separate. That water is really only there as a delivery vehicle for the product because it's going to evaporate. What Kelly's going to do is I'm going to instruct her on how to get started. And the way that we're going to get started is think of this as your full screen. I usually break mine into thirds. So you would have 3 areas. There's actually 2 kind of divots in this. And you can see one over here and the one here.
Feed my big cat.
We'll break it into thirds. What I usually do is run, for this size panel, we're just going to run like a little 2-inch. If I'm doing a full screen, I'm probably going to run about a 3 to 4 inch, maybe 3 and start with 3. You can always pour a little more if you want to do it that way. You can use a rolling pan. The thing is I wouldn't use more in a rolling pan than what you plan to do in one coating. And I'll explain that as we go, okay? So the easiest thing to do is Kelly right now, I've instructed her, she's going to run about a 2-inch wide strip from the center of the first one to the center of the third one. There you go. Just keep going. There you go. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Now, you can actually take your brush and brush that up the side if that happens, where you have a little roll in the container. There you go. Nice. Now you just want to go ahead and get to rolling. And what you want to do, the goal here is to cover the surface. You're not trying to get a pretty roll, like you're rolling a wall in your house or something. You just want to, first of all, what you want to do is try to get your roller saturated with the material. Rolling it back and forth. You want to saturate your roller with the material.
Like this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Y'all, I have not done this. So,
Here we go.
But now you want to start rolling it, like rolling that out, because what you see is you've got little pieces. There you go. You're just trying to get coverage, a good, even coverage. It's not going to look even as far as color, but you want the whole surface to be wet. It's as easy as that. Just basically, but try not to roll it off. I usually roll side to side.
I got you. I'm going to instruct you. Clearly, I'm not a painter.
You're doing absolutely perfect. Once again, you're not trying to get a pretty roll at all. What you're trying to do is get the material on the surface.
I should have played the other game. I haven't played the one on the wall. What's that new one I got? That new one from...
See, now you can start applying just a little bit of pressure, going either side to side or up and down. Just apply a little bit more pressure. Look, be easy with it. You want to roll your roller. There you go. Yeah, not just slide it.
Gotcha.
All right. Now you see how that's starting to coat across the screen now?
I do.
All right. And that's really all you're wanting to do is just make sure you get a good even coat. All right, now go back to this side and just lightly hold your roller. Just let the weight of the roller roll it, and you just roll
over here.
up. Go take your roller and put it about halfway on the line you just made.
Right here.
Mm-hmm. And just do that again. Let the weight of the roller do that over and over across your surface.
.4K widescreen saver, snow.
Now the reason we're doing this is because I want to show you it's very easy. It's just a technique, right? But also this will help you optimize. That's it. You're done. This will help you optimize the surface. So the surface is going to have less texture. It's going to be very fine and give you a really nice image. So that's it. It was just coat the surface, do your light roll all the way across, and then now we're going to let it set for maybe 2 to 3 minutes just because this starts to try to level set itself. We're gonna let it set for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're gonna put it on the, on our fan, excuse me, we're gonna put it on the fan, and we'll be back in just a few, okay? All right, so we're back. Now, one thing that I did forget to mention in the first coat was when you finish, rinse out your roller. Now, what I do is usually that's the reason I use so little material. That way, there's not really a lot to rinse out of your roller. So you don't waste a lot of material, but you start with a fresh roller.
We're going to test that theory out. So bottom line is, if I use the same roller on a 100-inch screen and the other one on a 50-inch, one's going to have less paint than the other on the roller. That's bull. Sorry, that's bull. I said it before. That's bull. If you dip the roller in the paint pan, they're both going to come up with the same amount of paint on them. At the end of the day, keep in mind, this is a 4-coat application, each one being a different color, which means you're going to be cleaning your roller out 4 times in a row. Or you're just going to waste 4 individual rollers, or you're just going to basically use 4 individual rollers and then wash out all 4 individual rollers. That's what's going to end up happening. If you use it with a paint cannon, you're going to have 4 cannons, or you're going to wash the same cannon out every single time to keep getting cross-contamination. So either way, you're going to be working at the end of the day. You're going to be putting some working on the screen at the end of the day. You're just going to be washing out rollers over and over again. I'm not washing out. I wash my rollers out one time. They're done. They're downstairs. They're dry. They're done. Knocked out both screens. Done. That's it. That's just too much work.
For this coat. So this time we're going to do the exact same thing we did last time. And while Kelly's rolling it, I'll talk a little about the product itself and what it's designed and engineered to do for you. Be hard to hold that spoon here. So just get used to it. And she's just going to repeat the same thing that happened last time. You just try to move this around, get your roller good and wet, just kind of going back and forth across. As if you just go across your panel there, you'll saturate the roller. And then you're just going to try to make sure that you move the material around to coat the full screen. So while Kelly's rolling here and getting that done, see, I'm just going to cut you loose on your own. All right, folks, so while Kelly's doing her thing, I'm going to do a little narration here. So what you want to avoid is overworking this. That's the reason I'm being so thorough in the explanation. Because the tendency for people is to try to roll this as a paint, where you're trying to get color coverage that looks the same from one roll to the next roll. You don't need to worry about that with this. This is going to happen naturally as you do your layers, okay? What you're trying to do is, 1, get coverage on the surface. 2, when I say coverage, just get the surface wet with the material. Go back, step 2, you're going to add a little bit of pressure like she's doing now, just rolling one direction. It really shouldn't even be going back and forth. Just one direction is easy enough. Yeah, just add slight pressure, and what you'll see is that'll start to colorize the surface. And then you're going to go back and do the same thing, but with no pressure, just letting the roller do its thing, which is going to give you a very refined, low texture surface. It's that simple. This material has been designed to make it easy for you, and so that whoever creates a screen, as long as you follow the instructions, it's going to come out the same regardless of Tom in Oklahoma does it, or, you know, Josie in the UK does it. It doesn't matter, right? It should come out the same.
Columbo. That's a good one right there. I love Columbo. The old shows from back in the day.
The material
Monk. I love
itself
Monk.
is, it's not fully self-leveling, at least not at that, you know, thickness. It's not going to be fully self-leveling. But you do want to let it set for 2 or 3 minutes. And I'll talk about that in a minute.
Cartoon Network.
You want to let it set for 2 or 3 minutes so it can self-level. And then you can throw the fan on it, let it dry, do its thing, and as soon as it's dry. Now, dry is dry. Okay, it shouldn't be tacky. So you want to make sure that it's not tacky. As a matter of fact, when you fill the surface, especially if you've had it on a fan, it's probably going to be a cool surface. But you just fill, and as long as it feels nice and smooth, not tacky at all, you're ready to go for the next coat. So I just want to make sure folks understand, do not overwork the product. It doesn't need to be. Once again, not the paint. not meant to
This
look
is
like a
right.
paint or behave like a
Oh,
paint.
that this is. I never get a chance to play it. Ooh, which one? My favorite is let me
All
see.
right, guys, Danny back. So
Creative.
I want to take a moment while Kelly's doing her thing to give you an idea of the surface. So now you can see, looking at this, you can see, okay, there's a line here, and there's a line here, there's a line here, but we're not through yet, right? So don't worry about that. You can see little specks in there where you can still see through to the substrate. So don't worry about that. What you'll notice is that we're starting to get a uniform coat. Now, this here, this is a crease in the, you can see in the panel that we're doing, there's some inconsistencies in the panel. But once again, worst case scenario, we're using just an old cheap panel here that's got creases and little divots in it, things like that. But looking at the surface, this is going to start to shape up in our third row, all right? So we'll get Kelly in here in just a second and get started back. All right, so you want to stir it up again. We cleaned our roller. Very little material came out of it this time, so you did a good job. I'm not using too much last time. All right.
Ready?
Yep. There you go. Leave what's left in there. Roll that out.
So reading.
Remember, remove your material first. Start all the material that's in the center.
Yep.
You want to make sure you start moving it out. Yeah, so if you have a little piece of your roller or anything like that that comes off, you see a speck of something, just take it off with your finger and go back over it. It'll cover really easy.
Why did you do that control way over there without freak?
All right. So now you want to do your light roll because you will put pressure over some of that. So you just want to make sure that you always do this last, very light, no pressure on the roller. Just let the weight of the roller do it. All you're doing is just moving the roller. So there's coat 3. It may end up being our last coat. I know I said 4. We'll take a look at the end of this and see if we need a 4th coat. Sometimes I'll go ahead and do a 4th coat anyway. It's good to have 4 coats because this is an optical layering system. Okay, so you're building something here. Specifically, it's made for it to have essentially 4 coats. So we'll probably come back and do our little 4th coat on it, but for the most part, we're going to just let this set for a second, come back. We'll put it in front of the fan there, let it dry, and then we'll be back. All right, guys, we're back, and so we're going for the 4th and final coat.
I'm not bothering with it because I already did it already. I beat the screen product already. Enjoying my stuff for now.
All right, so that's our last coat. We're going to let that set for just a second, and then we're going to put that in front of the fan, and we should be good to test it out in the room. So we'll be back on display.
Where's this one at? Oh, getting burnt. Yeah. Toasty. All right, let me get out of here real quick. We're gonna pop over to
Hey folks, Danny here, Partay. So, want to cover off, now this is a panel
that is gorgeous. I just saw it a few minutes ago.
That Kelly, my wife, rolled last night. As an example, just to give you a display.
In the end, this is his final results, period. This is it. That's his final results. That's it. A screen that's literally matching his wall right here and here. That's his final results. These are our final results. We got the windows open, plenty of light over top, and our screens are much larger than yours. We got 93 over here. We got 106 over here. Una papilla. Pachita. And I was editing both of these screens. By the time it took you to upload your second video to display your screen, I did it all in one hit. This is the finisher. This is just for having fun. That's at the end of the day, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time and money. And I guarantee you, if we decide to bring the product down here, that at the end of the day, it's going to match the tablecloth. It's definitely going to match the samples that we got coming in on Monday. It's definitely going to match it. Like I said, that screen he has on the wall is a lazy gray. It'll easy match it with no problem. So all that stuff he's talking about in the video, that's nonsense. That's all crap at the end of the day. As I said before, you got to take the screen off. You don't have to take the screen off. I painted the screen on. You have to take it apart or nothing. All you want to make sure that you pad the bar because you want to make sure you don't get your bar imprint in your screen. That's basically about it. You don't have to take it apart. I can paint this one right here today. And just faster than he does a video. Paint 135 and recoat all these screens at the same time and knock that one out by the time it takes him to finish. Because last time I gave him a head start because there's no way in the world he's going to finish the same time or anywhere near close to me. Oh, look at the puffy paws. They're so cute. Ain't nowhere in the world I would waste all the time painting the screen in. It's too long. And he's sitting there doing this demonstration. Look at this. He got this screen sitting there under the fireplace. This little tiny screen. No light hitting the screen at all whatsoever. On that little screen. And we're in here 100-inch 93. Windows are open. Lights are on. And look at my screens. That shows you at the end of the day why they cancel orders on us. That's why. Because if I put a screen here, it'll wash out. Nothing longer, but it took me forever just to paint the surface in. It took me forever. And you're advising me to take apart the screen before I can paint it? That's a freaking headache at the end of the day. That surface is not going to have the same stretch as it did after you paint it. If the screen was already previously painted, it's going to be even harder to put it back on. So no, he doesn't know what he's talking about at the end of the day. Bunch of nonsense. And the same thing with the other one. When he sits there and puts on this video that his product is like kills our screen paint. How can you kill our screen paint if you can't cast on your orders? I don't get that one either. You guys you're delusional. You type this Crow types on his website that, oh, I killed their product. But we got a slew of canceled orders from you. How are you destroying anything when you cancel orders? Oh, so you only beat people's screens when you're the only one doing the demonstration, when you have control of the environment, when you can tamper mess with products. So that's how it works. But when someone tries to get your product down here for testing, you cancel orders. But your product's the best. Like I told you from the door parts, hey, a paint-on demonstration alone, I could wipe your product just on a paint-on demonstration alone. I don't even have to do it side by side next to yourself. I don't have to test you against certified. I don't have to put you in well-lit environments, nothing. Your paint-on instructions alone will basically damage your product. Customers and companies will do business with me before they would do business with you because, number one, my results are fast and quick. You don't have to be a pro. You don't have to be a professional. You can apply it on the wall. You can apply it on the floor. It doesn't make a difference. And the results are going to be fantastic. And I painted this on an official 106-inch screen and an official 93. 191. So I don't know. I don't know at the end of the day for you guys. I don't know. But I don't have time to talk about it because I'm going to go downstairs and have breakfast and enjoy the rest of my day. I thought I would do this video today basically to get him to understand exactly where his place is at. In no way does your product come anywhere near to what I develop and what I make at the end of the day. It doesn't. Same thing for you, Crow. Your product doesn't come anywhere near on what I do. Period. Monday morning, you're going to be going up against everyday house paint with nothing in it. You better hope you don't match that stuff at the end of the day because that's going to be even worse. This stuff has no black paint in it at all, period. It's just going to be simple right out of the can at $23. Oh, well. Okay, well. That's basically about it for me. Goodbye.